Well, my name is Amanda Duffy, and I am a stillbirth mother. My daughter, Reese Christine Duffy, is her picture, was born November 2nd of 2014. Um, she was 39 weeks exactly. She was 8 pounds, 3 ounces, 20 and a half inches long, and we were one day away from our scheduled C-section with her. I went into the hospital because of reduced movements. I talked myself out of going in initially because we were one day away from seeing her and meeting her, so I thought I was just being crazy. But it just kind of haunted me. So I waited a couple hours and I finally told my husband I haven't felt a baby kick. And he decided to call the doctor, and the doctor said, you know what? Why don't you just come into the hospital? Maybe the baby just needs to be woken up on a car ride. But all the while, I knew in my gut something was wrong. So we got to the hospital. We called my mother-in-law to come and watch my son Rogan, who's 2.5. So she met us at the hospital, and we were walking to the parking lot, and my husband said, "How are you doing?" And I just said, "Honestly, I just need to hear the baby's heartbeat," knowing that I probably wouldn't hear her heartbeat. Um, so we went to the hospital, we got hooked up, and the nurse came in and said, "You know what? Since you're here and your C-section's scheduled for tomorrow, which is a Monday, we'll probably just do the C-section tonight. We won't send you home." And so she tried to hook up the monitors, couldn't find the heartbeat, and she said, "You know, where do you usually find the heartbeat on your belly?" And I'm thinking, well, I'm 39 weeks pregnant. You can put it anywhere and hear her heartbeat. She couldn't find it, so she went and got a different monitor. Still nothing, and I knew. My husband still, I don't think he really knew what was going on, and he was trying to distract my son too. And finally, the nurse said, "I'm gonna go get the doctor and bring the ultrasound machine in. Maybe the baby's just tucked in there weird." And that's when I started crying, and my husband just grabbed my hand, and that's when we both knew something was wrong. The doctor came in, which seemed like 20 minutes after the nurse went to get her. Um, she came in. My mother-in-law showed up and took my son out of the room. They hooked the ultrasound machine up, and she turned the ultrasound machine away so I couldn't see the photo. And she just sat in this one spot and just stared at my daughter's picture, Reese, on the screen, and didn't say anything and didn't say anything. And the whole time I just knew, like, just tell me that you see nothing. Um, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm really sorry, but there's no heartbeat." And I started like this out of body experience, this sound that came out of me I've never heard before in my life. And luckily, my husband was sitting beside me, and he started asking questions right away. "This can't be. What else can we do? There's got to be something." And she said, "Before you say anything else, I need to try something else and see if there's brain activity on your daughter." So she broke my water, and she inserted 2 miniature clips into my daughter's skull to see if there was any brain activity. And she turned the monitor on, and there was 2 beeps. And she looked at the nurse and said, "Call code right now, we're doing an emergency C-section." So she rushed me down the hallway, and it was just surreal. There's people coming out of the woodwork, nurses, doctors, people yelling. There's a siren going off, or a light. She rushed me into the OR, yelled at my husband, said, "You can't come in." And they injected me with some medicine, and I was out. And the next thing I knew, I woke up, and I didn't open my eyes because I didn't want to get the news, because I knew. And the doctor was sitting beside me and kept saying, "Amanda, open your eyes, open your eyes." And so I finally did, and she looked at me and she said, "You have a beautiful baby daughter, but she was born with the cord wrapped around her neck twice very tightly. We tried to resuscitate her for about 15 minutes, but we couldn't bring her back." And then she said, "Do you want to see her?" And I was terrified because I didn't know what a dead baby or a stillborn baby looks like. But I knew I needed to see her, and I wanted to see her right now. So they wheeled her in. She was perfect. She had peach skin, bright red hair, ruby red lips, and I knew the moment I saw her that this is my daughter, and I was so proud to be her mom. Um, I stopped crying the moment she was put in my arms, and I remember a nurse sitting beside me saying, "Your daughter is so beautiful. Do you mind if I hold her?" And that was like the proudest moment of my life, because somebody wanted to hold my daughter who was dead. And I was still a proud mom, even though my daughter wasn't there. She was there, but she wasn't there. And I remember being really, really mad at myself because I waited to go in because of reduced movements. And from that point on, my husband and I made a promise to our daughter Reese, saying that we will do all that we can to parent you by helping others through this awful thing. And luckily enough, I have amazing family that came and rushed to our side and spent the next 24 hours with us and with our daughter. We were able to get her baptized, and we spent 24 hours with Reese. She was born at 4:47 on November 2nd, and we said goodbye to her at 4:47 on November 3rd, which was her actual due date. And since that moment, I have made it my mission to help other parents who have to experience something like this. And, it's one of those things where we had everything planned out. Our family was planned out. We were going to be done having babies at 2 after 2. So she was going to be it for us. That all came crashing down. And now I'm currently pregnant with her little brother. And he's due November 16th, which is exactly 1 week after her initial due date and 2 weeks from her birthday. So I can't help but think that that's a miracle, and that was planned as well. Her little brother we are so excited for him. He wasn't initially in the plan, but this is how our plan worked out, and we're really, really excited. And we know that if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't be in the picture. So I guess backtracking before Reese was born, everything about my pregnancy was great, leading up to about 35 weeks. With Reese, at 35 weeks, I was diagnosed with severe polyhydramnios, which means that I had excess amniotic fluid. They didn't know what caused it. I did all the tests. Everything was great. She tested great genetically. I didn't have anything going on with me health-wise. And I wasn't really told why I have this or what can happen when you have this. So all I knew is that I had more amniotic fluid than what I was supposed to. Not thinking like, well, yeah, she can move around more in there and get tangled up in the cord. Most women have about 5 to 20 centimeters of fluid, and I had about 35 to 40 centimeters of fluid, so she always had a lot of room to move. So going into the last few weeks of the pregnancy, I was really stressed out, but I think it was more because I knew my gut knew something wasn't right. I pushed for an early delivery, and the doctor said, this doesn't qualify you for an early delivery. You are handling this pregnancy beautifully. Your daughter is handling this pregnancy beautifully. We're going to keep going. And at 37 weeks, I told them, you know what, then I want a C-section because I knew that would give me a week earlier due date. And they said, fine, we'll schedule it for 39 weeks and 1 day since your due date is on a Sunday and we don't do elective C-sections on Sundays. So we'll have you come in on that Monday. And I said, okay. And I started crying again in that appointment because I knew my daughter was ready to come out. I just knew she was ready. But I didn't push back, and I kicked myself for that. But I didn't do it. And here we are today. And I know I carry a lot of guilt. But I also know that so much good has happened because she's in our life. She may not be here physically, but I feel her every single day. And I see her in my son Rogan, and I know that I will see her in my next born son. And I'm so thankful for her every single day. And I walk the tightrope of hope and grief and love every single day. But because of her, we have a new little baby on the way, and I just pray everything goes well for him. And without Reese, we would not be here today, and I'm again thankful that we are, but so sad that she's not here to join us.